Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we are jumping in to 5 holy grail viral makeup products that are still worth all of the hype all of these years later. I was going through my collection recently and I noticed that, we go through trends where we like things that are full coverage, then we like things that are a little more natural. We like to use a sponge or a brush or whatever, and things tend to develop. And I've been doing a lot lately where I revisit my collection, play around with items I might not have tried in quite some time. And these are 5 products that have have withstood the test of time. These are 5 holy grails that even 10 years plus later are still in my collection. So if that's something you're into, make sure to keep on watching and don't forget to subscribe because I upload every other day. And that'll be the best way to stay up to date on all the fun stuff I'm posting. So if you want to go through 5 holy grail ride or die products that I have been using for years, some of these almost a decade, that still I continue to repurchase, replenish, and use, stay tuned. Alright, so I went through the collection and I found 5, and I'm also going to be doing a second part where it's 5 discontinued items that I still secretly use off camera because I don't like talking about things that are discontinued because then I feel bad that you guys can't go and buy it. Anyway, that's going to be a different video. These are 5 products that are so good that I have gone through full over and over and over and over again and still consistently use. We're going to start first with an oldie but goodie, an OG classic. It's the Beauty Blender. And I know that tools are some of those things, especially on YouTube and TikTok, that not a ton of people talk about, and when they do, it's like, I'm going to use this, and then I'm going to talk about the makeup product I'm using. And for me, this was a game changer for me like 7 years ago or so when I started switching to sponges. Now, if you've been on my channel for a while, you know my favorite way to apply any sort of base product, whether it is concealer, foundation, tinted moisturizer, anything like that, I like to use some form of brush, apply a nice thin layer evenly, and then I'll use the sponge just to work it into the skin, pick up the extra, and make sure that I am, getting that airbrush finish. And I don't know how I did just brushes in the past, because that was what I used to do. It was just a brush, never a sponge, and I didn't realize why everything looked so heavy and so cakey with the foundation and the powders and so many layers. And when I finally discovered sponges, it was life and death, night and day, not life and death. It's one of those days where I'm going to be mixing metaphors, but the sponge was a game changer. The next product has been on the market for a very long time. This is the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face Base. I have it on today. It's one of those moisturizer primer in one combos that does blur the skin and make everything look really smooth and airbrushed under your makeup. But I also really like it as a vitamin charged vitamin C daytime moisturizer. Now I will put it on top of like a serum and moisturizer and use it more like a primer to lock everything in because it is a little bit thicker. But I find with the days I use it, my skin is just fuller and plumper and smoother and I get less flaking. I live in Colorado now and Florida was humid. Colorado is so dry. So I need every single chance I get. This has like such a classic scent to it, and I'm about halfway through this jar, and I've gone through many, many jars. I remember when I first purchased this, oh my god, I was still living in New York. It was probably 6 years ago, and it consistently makes its way into the rotations. There are things that I will downsize and then maybe repurchase, or I'll get it in PR, and I'll revisit things I used to like. This is one that I have never not had on hand since I got it. The next one is going to be a little bit of a, you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it, and it is the Tarte Shape Tape. Now, I will say that I use it differently than I used to. When I used to use it, I would do like the full triangle on the other under eye, blend it out, get that hyper brightened effect. I don't use it the same way I used to. Now what I do, and I'm going to put a little bit on now because we're going for a very lightweight vibe today, is I will brush quite a bit off. I will take one little dot here, one here, and that is all the concealer I will use on most days because I feel like I don't need as much as I used to, and I used to put on so much. Now I like a high coverage concealer because it really does allow me to get a ton of coverage. But with this one, I just want that tiny bit of brightening in the under eye. It still looks very natural. It doesn't look like I've added a ton of makeup. Now I am just going to blend it down because, you know, you can kind of see the line where I put it on right this second, but that will go away once I set it. And a tiny bit goes a very long way. I'm also using a slightly darker color than I used to. I used to use light honey, and then when I had a tan, I would use light medium honey. Now I only use light medium honey. It's one of those that just has the right color, the right undertone, brightens a little bit. And I will use this to spot conceal periodically as well. So, you know, I have that tiny vein in the center of my nose. That amount of concealer, I will work into the entire nose area and sheer it over the whole amount just to take down that redness. And even though all I added was primer and a tiny bit of concealer, I feel like this just brightens the face so much. I definitely don't use it the way I used to. I'm not even going to pretend that I do. However, I do just want to say that it is still one of the best formula of concealers that I've used. Doesn't crease, doesn't flake, doesn't pill, and I haven't even set it down yet, and it still looks good. Now, I am going to just make sure that I have no creases and throw a little powder on there just because I always do. But other than that, I love the way this looks. The next item I have had on since the second I started filming the video, this is the Jouer Essential Lip Enhancer. This, you know, I travel with it so often, most of the letters have rubbed off. I've gone through quite a few of these. This product was one, if not the one, that I loved the most. And I got really hyped up on it, and it definitely is a game changer. I've gotten all of my friends hooked. Again, I live in Colorado where it is super, super dry. And I feel like every time I use this, I don't have cracked or chapped lips at all, even if I forget to reapply throughout the day. It does, I say, mess with the formula of liquid lipsticks a little bit if you apply it right before your lip. But the way that I do it is I'll put it on, then I'll start turning on the lights back there, lighting my candles. And by the time I sit down to film, it has mostly absorbed in, given me a nice sheen to the lips, and I'm ready for lip liner and lipstick. No questions. And the last item is one that I'm hesitant to talk about because I was on the fence for it for years. I loved it. I kept repurchasing it, and I kept telling myself, when I finish it, I'm going to stop using it. And then about 2 weeks ago, I purchased a brand new MAC paint pot. Every time I try to switch to something else, I just don't like the way my eyeshadow looks as much as I do when I use this. It's one of those things where nothing compares to it. And no matter how much I try to find something else, I will just never like an eye primer as much as I like this. Now, I will say there are some cream shadows that work really well as an eye base. One that comes to mind is the Matte Fluid Eye Paint from About Face. I like this one when I'm doing like a smoky eye because it, you know, it's a little bit darker, so it does lay down a little bit of color. But this is just like the perfect color for me to cancel out the color on my lids. It's close enough to my skin tone that it's just a nice base, especially when I want to go for these bright, bold pops of color, because I don't like using a white base. I think it just kind of gets a little too intense. Plus, then I have to do that whole, like, powder the under eye in a way that just gets a little intense for me. So I tend to stick to this. I've gone through so many jars of this, and honestly, I don't see my makeup well. I don't like the way my makeup looks, specifically the eyes, when I use something different. And those are going to be the 5 ride or die holy grail once upon a time viral products that still withstand the test of time. I know there are a ton of products that get really hyped up. We use them for a few weeks and then we never talk about them again. And these are ones that I have consistently heard people talking about, even now as staple products in their routines. I know makeup artists who swear by some of these products, and a lot of, you know, just people at home who enjoy them as well. So these are going to be my top 5 of products that have withstood the test of time. Like I said, make sure to stay tuned for the upcoming video later in the week, where I'll be talking about my discontinued favorites that I secretly use off camera, so nobody knows that I'm still using products that might have been discontinued. Some of them as many as like 4 years ago, but I stocked up. As always, let me know your thoughts down below, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!